Hello, I'm Jeff Hagen, and welcome to another edition of Spinning Wheels. It's the program that has everything to do about wheels. Today we're very excited to have with us car expert Tom Hawkins. Tom is the president and CEO of Hawkins Chevrolet in beautiful Fairmont, Minnesota. Tom, we would like to welcome you back, and since you were here the last time on the program, we've had quite a few emails that were from people that asked questions about topics that we didn't cover on the last program. One of those topics, of course, was on used cars, and actually had quite a few emails on the used car market itself. So we're happy to have you back and answer some of the questions today. Can you give us kind of an overview of the used car business as a whole?
It's a good question, Jeff. Yeah, we've had a lot of monumental changes in the used car business over the last 4 years. As you know, or 3 years for sure, as you know, at the end of 2008, when the economy had their crash and around that November and everybody was panicking around election time, that really made a huge difference in the used car business. One of the things that happened as General Motors went through, as everyone knows now, all their problems that they had with in their bankruptcy. What happened, the new car market dropped a lot. The new car market was selling on an average of around 16.5 to 17 million new cars a year as total. That's everybody. That's General Motors, Toyota, Chrysler, everybody was selling about that. And during those first few months after the crash, as they called it, the new cars were selling at a pace of about 9 to 9.5 million cars a year. So as you know, what happened initially is that people were so panicked that the used car market was so soft that actually the used car market was really good for about 2 months. One of the things that we did to overcome the issues of profitability that we were having because of the lack of sales is we took a chance and went out in that market and bought a lot of vehicles when everyone was afraid to buy, and we got some real good deals that we could pass on to customers. And so we got some business rolling on the used car side by offering very good deals. Well, in about March of 2009, all of a sudden, when things kind of stabilized and got going, people realized that this market is real soft. So in a matter of about 3 to 4 months, the market improved on the used car side probably by 30 to 40%. So used car prices shot up that fast. Now, people wonder, why would that kind of a recovery happen? Well, the main reason is a lot of the buyers of new cars, first of all, even on the fleet side, such as rental companies, they quit buying. I mean, there was no business out there in the rental car business, so they quit buying. Also, what happened is that, as you know, you can't go to a factory and get a used car. Used cars start out as new cars. And when you don't sell as many new cars, that means there's less used cars to sell. So pretty soon, to maintain the same used car sales rate that they've had for years, it pretty much drives up the market. Supply and demand sends the price higher on the used car market. So what's happened over the time is that over the next few years, that slowly but surely, and as things started to recover and General Motors went through bankruptcy and got back on their feet, that they're still not selling as many new cars as they did before, but the used cars are just so hard to find. So what's happened now is that the used car market is so much stronger that so many things have changed for people. It used to be people came in, if you remember back in the 2004, 5, 6, that people would consistently look for used cars because they could get thousands of dollars compared to a new one for a 1-year-old car with 10 or 15,000 miles. Remember that?
Oh yeah, yeah.
And but what happened now is that people still come in looking for those same kind of deals that they had at that time, but they found out that a used car wasn't that much cheaper than a new car. So a new mindset's been kind of taking place in the used car market.
So it's been almost 3 years since this crash took place, when things did change the new car market, and you said that the used cars have kind of evolved as far as the mindset with people. What's happened with the new car market? It's almost been 3 years now. Is it recovering to a point where it's going to be able to resupply the used car market, or?
It's not where it was, but the new car market is selling probably about 12.5 to 13 million. They're on a pace of about 12.5 to 13 million a year. What we're finding out in our market now is that we're selling less used cars than we were before because they're just hard to get. We can't take enough in on trade to supply our needs, and going out to buy them as we've done in the past is harder to do because there's so much competition.
Sure.
At 12.5, 13 million, that's still based on what we had historically for used car sales, that's still not enough to supply. So because of that, the used car market is real strong, but the new car market is good. Okay. The auto companies are able to sell, are increasing their new car sales. Now, of course, with General Motors and Chrysler after bankruptcy, their debt is gone, so they're able to be profitable at a lower level of sales. And so from the manufacturer side, the business is pretty good, and they're not going to try to overproduce. That got them into that problem before, so they're going to bring it back as the demand calls. Sure. So in our current economic environment, it's not at a point where they can afford to do 16, 17 million cars a year. Hopefully in the next few years it will, and the used car market will be a little more fulfilled. So what that means in the meantime is if you're buying a used car, you're paying a lot more for a used car than you did 3-4 years ago as a percentage of new.
Sure, okay. Well, as we've been talking about at the beginning, people have been wondering about the used car portion, and I see we have some callers on the line. So why don't we go to a caller and we'll find out what they have to ask us today. Caller, are you there?
Hey guys, great show. You know, getting a lot of good information, and I've got this question. There seem to be a lot of blue books or guides that claim to determine the value of a used vehicle. How do I know which guide is best for me to use in determining the value of my used vehicle or in buying one?
You know, that's a good question. There are a lot of guides out there. There's a lot of companies that produce value guides. There's Kelley Blue Book. There's the National Auto Dealers or NADA guide. That's always been kind of the standard. Yep. There's Black Book, and so there's a number of them out there, and everybody has a different feel about which one is the best. And we found that it just kind of depends on the market, what area of the market. And nowadays, we really don't tie ourselves to any one specific guide for as far as determining the value. With technology today, Jeff, there's a lot of availability to find out what's happening truly in the market. And the technology is out there that when we look at cars to determine how much to pay, we can see what's happening in the market, both on the wholesale side and the retail side. We can see if someone's trading in a specific car, say it's a 4-year-old car with 50,000 miles, we can go find that car in the market and say, here's what this car is bringing for it across all the auctions and in the wholesale market. We can also see what that car is selling for with that amount of miles, and that kind of, so we can kind of determine without using the book really what the true market is. And so what we're finding is that the books that people have used for years, they're good guides, but they really don't give you the true indication of the market. It depends on your local market. It depends on the type of car it is that determines that. So what I tell people is the books that they talk about are guides. They're good tools to use, but they're not the total answer. You really have to, you can really now, with technology, you can look at what the current selling rate is on just about any vehicle out there. The technology is available for that.
And the technology with the internet to give you that over what just the books before used to be able to, you just went to a book and looked, and now like you were talking about going online and be able to see what other people are paying or what they're bringing, it's changed basically that for that reason too.
That's right. And all the books are online now, so people don't have to get a book. They can do it online. And but even from a dealer standpoint, there's a lot more depth that we can get into, that people have created programs that we can subscribe to that help give us a real depth of the market, so we can be fair with customers. It's a lot easier because it's not as, it's still subjective, but it's not nearly as subjective as it used to be, and it makes it a little more easier and a little more trusting for the customers.
That's good. Well, that was a great question. I do see we have more callers on there, so why don't we go to another call? Okay. Caller, are you there?
Yeah. What factors affect the value of my car?
That's a good question. You know, there are a number of things that can affect the value. Of course, first of all, you have the amount of miles that are on your car. You have the type of car it is, in other words, the popularity and the supply and demand of a specific vehicle. You also have the certain amount of the condition that it's in, how much reconditioning it needs. And of course, the other thing you have is what happens to be if there's any incentive programs on specific cars. Believe it or not, with the certified programs that the factories have, there are incentives that can affect the value of a vehicle through the certified programs. In our case, a GM certified. So of all those things, first of all, you have the condition, basically how clean it is, what kind of condition, how much reconditioning it needs. When we look at a used vehicle to put on our lot from a customer or purchasing it from an auction, we look at how much what kind of condition are the tires in. Are there any repairs or maintenance that it needs to have done? That affects it. Number two, what is the supply and demand of that vehicle? Is it a vehicle that there's a lot out there, or is it one that's hard to get, so that can affect the value. And then if they're from the manufacturer certified programs, there's some that there happen to be a lot of that the manufacturers will put incentives even on used cars, because these might be rentals or off-lease cars that are a lot of that they want to get sold. So so they'll put some incentives on that. So those are all things that can affect the value of a used car at any one time.
Okay. Well, I can see our lines are lit up like crazy, so we better get to another caller.
Okay.
And caller, are you there with us?
My question really covers 2 points. How hard is it to sell my car myself? And what are my options if I don't want to do that?
You know, that's a great question, and we run into that a lot, because now with the internet, it does make it easier for those who feel they want to maximize the amount they get is to sell the car themselves. Here's what a dealer does when they look at a used car. What a dealer does is a dealer will look at how much they want to sell their car for, okay? And then they have to determine, if you're going to trade your car in, how much we want to buy it for.
Sure.
Now a dealer, whether they go to a wholesale auction or they buy it from a customer, they need to buy a vehicle for dealer price. They need to buy it at a price that they can buy it, do any of the reconditioning that we talked about a minute ago, and then put a markup for a profit on it and sell it on the lot. So they're going to try to buy it. They want to buy the car at a dealer price. So what a lot of people do is, some people say, you know, I just like to get more for my car than what the dealer price is. And we say that's a great idea, and a lot of people do that. And so what they do is, rather than trading in the car, is they will go and use some of these online sites, some that we use, and they can do what's called a private sale on those sites, and they can post their car online, and then they can take calls from customers, and people can come in and look at their car and do that. So a lot of people are successful at doing that and enjoy doing that. That means generally that they can try to sell the car for as close to what we might sell it for, and instead of us making the profit, they can make the profit. And some people are real comfortable about that.
The risk with that being, if a person decides not to trade their vehicle in and decides to sell it themselves, of course, the risk is, are you going to be able to sell it, or do you actually own two vehicles for quite a while, right?
And that goes to the second part of the caller's question: is why wouldn't they want to do it themselves? And some of the reasons why you wouldn't want to do that is, first of all, if you're not a person who likes to sit at home and wait for the phone to ring and see people and negotiate with people about your car, you may not be able to do that. Some other reasons that might make it harder for you or for a consumer to sell their car versus a dealer. In fact, we've had that situation recently where, if they come to a dealer can, first of all, more easily stand behind it. When you buy it from a consumer, they're generally not going to get a warranty.
Sure.
Well, first of all, not only can a dealer offer you a warranty that you can purchase, but they'll probably stand behind it to some point for a short amount of time at no extra charge. The second thing is that, depending on the price of the vehicle, a higher priced vehicle sometimes needs to be financed. Well, we can offer financing options for people that an individual cannot do. And the third thing is that there's other features that you can get with a car, or accessories that you can buy with a car, that you can get right from the dealer that an individual can't offer. So generally, a dealer can sometimes get a little bit more money for the car because of the conveniences of buying from a dealer versus buying from an individual. But either way is fine. Some people feel they like to buy from an individual, they can get a better deal. They're willing to take a little risk that it doesn't need anything. On the other hand, buying from a dealer typically has gone through and checked over the vehicle and disclosed to the customer what they found, what's been fixed, and it's generally ready to go without needing much repair at all.
Sure.
So that's the benefit of buying it from a dealer versus an individual. So that it's 6 of one, half of the other. It just depends on whether you want to go through the process of doing that. You can make a little more money doing it yourself, but there's a lot of hassle that goes with it.
Well, we've had a lot of great questions, Tom. It was great to hear these calls from these callers, and I see we have a bunch more, but I wish we had more time, but I guess we don't today. So maybe next time. Yeah, that's right. But Tom, we want to thank you for being in with us today, giving us a look at the used car version of things, kind of telling people how to work with that and what to do if they decide that they want to sell a used car. It gives them options. So we thank you for all your insight into that.
Thank you, Jeff.
All right. Well, we want to thank Tom for joining us. We want to thank our callers for calling in today, and we want to especially thank those of you who are watching to be sure and tune in to us next time when we have another edition of Spinning Wheels.